Today, I'm going to try to draw this church in Loo, England, and can you even believe it took me this long to draw a church here? Neither can I. This one is called St. Nicholas Church, and it sits right up against the harbor, which you can't see because it's behind it and to the left of frame, and it was built in either the 13th or 14th century. Not sure which, not sure if anyone knows which. It's on the west side of Loo, which is across from the main part of town, and I'm just now realizing that all three of my drawings from Loo have been from this side. I also live on this side, so maybe that has something to do with it. I'll get over to the east sooner or later. For now, today, I'm sat on this surprisingly busy corner for such a small town, and I'm getting started by putting all of my energy and focus into getting these proportions correct. I tried this one in my pocket sketchbook beforehand, and it wasn't good. It was bad. Even for a quick sketch, it lacked everything I would rather it didn't. And most notably, the proportions were abysmal. That's not to say that I do much better here, but there was, I think, a slight improvement. The main building to tower ratio was probably the most significant issue I was having, but the one that drove me the most crazy was the entranceway. The stairs to doorway to height of the facade was all wrong, hence why I took so much time in the beginning to get it right. I opted to use a bunch of dots and very light lines, as you can see, and what I was doing was double and triple checking the relationship between one thing and another. So for instance, the spot where the tower extends beyond the roof, that vertical spacing is pretty similar to that of the belfry painted in white above it. So I'll take that information and try to map out as much of the scene as I can, finding more and more similar shapes and spacings and angles along the way. If this doesn't end up as perfect, that can be down to a number of reasons. One could be that I'm freehanding it, so nothing will be precise anyway. Even if I do find similarities to bounce off of, I'm still at the mercy of my own hand and eye and hand-eye coordination. Another could be that while I'm drawing all these marks and lines, I might find a parallel here and there, but it's not like I'm concretely mapping out every single thing to every other. In fact, the previous example mentioned those two vertical distances being similar, but said nothing about the space between. I'm sure you could sit here and find lines that match up reasonably well, and maybe I did that too in the moment, but I can tell you that I didn't do it for everything. And so inevitably, some lines become longer or shorter, ultimately affecting the final proportions. Without a ruler, I expect and accept, honestly, some healthy deviation all across the page. So yeah, once I pulled out all my hair and bent over backwards to get this as close as possible, I started to fill in little bits of detail and bolden certain lines. And this part of the process just flew by. Before I knew it, I was looking down at the completed bones of my subject, even though I felt like there must be a lot more to do. And well, there was a lot more to do. It just wasn't about, like a thing, like a door here or an overhang there. Now it was about texture. That's all there was left to do. And that kind of stunned me for a second because I knew it was coming. I knew it was a major piece of this puzzle, even before I started, but I never expected to seem so unfinished right up to that point. I searched all over the paper and all over the scene, thinking there must be something I'd overlooked, but to my dismay, the texture was all there was, save for the rest of the environment, which I decided early on that I was going to completely ignore. So the texture, I have a weird relationship with it because sometimes it works wonders and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it just looks bad. And unfortunately for me, I don't know how to discern which is which. Anyway, today's, in my head, was about just lots of it, just putting as much as possible. Sometimes when a building has large blocks of texture, less is more, I think, although what do I know? But this, there's just so much of it and it's relatively small. So to get the effect I'm after, I don't want to skimp on any of it. In practical terms, what I want to do is make a lot of these short, imperfect lines, and I'm placing them in little clusters throughout. If I spread them out too much, like individual lines, I think they'll look too disjointed and more like actual, like visible lines on a flat surface. Whereas this way gives the surface a consistent roughness without having to painstakingly draw every bit of it. At least that's what it's suggesting. Additionally, I want to use the texture to my advantage to imply even more depth. Again, this drawing feels a bit lacking to me anyway. So what I'm trying to do is draw a line on one plane of the building, let's say on the left side of the tower, and carry it through to the right side. At eye level, this will look like one straight, unbroken line. But what's cool is that the higher up I go, the more that line bends as it goes around the corner. So on the left, it will approach the corner moving up, and when it goes over to the right side, it will immediately start moving down. It's a small thing, but I found it really useful on countless drawings. So there it is. Honestly, I really didn't like this one all that much while I was drawing it, go figure. And that probably has a lot to do with the emptiness leading up to the texture. But after a few hours, I don't mind it as much. There's still something missing. I can't quite put my finger on it. So if you see something that I don't, I'd love to hear about it. What, if anything, is making this just a little strange? Please let me know. Anyway, I appreciate you for taking the time to watch this one, and I'll see you soon. Thanks.